Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you what I believe to be a very exciting matchup here on Shattered Temple. Here we're going to have oGs HerO versus oGs's the STC. We have oGs HerO spotting as the light blue Protoss player at what I'll call the 1 o'clock position or 12 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have the STC spawning as the green Terran. I will try to refer to them as Terran versus Protoss. You guys can see what exactly is happening over here, or the particular names, and hopefully get into this particular game. oGs HerO or the Protoss and Terran player are effectively from the same team, so I am sure they have played each other in the past, as we are now getting a supply depot onto this front door. Meanwhile, back over here, HerO is now warping in this pylon as well, and it should be a pretty standard game here on Shattered Temple. Terran versus Protoss, and we'll see what's going to be happening. Normally, Terran players like Shattered Temple versus Protoss because of the wide open space and the ability that Terran players have in order to try to flank a lot of units, flank with those Vikings, and being able to cover a lot of ground with those siege tanks. Siege tanks very, very powerful on an open map like this, especially in the center where they can activate that Xel'Naga watchtower and essentially gain sight and be able to deal a lot of damage across the board. We're going to see now one probe making its way out, quickly do a scan over here at the 9 o'clock position, not find anything, and then move along its merry way. I believe this one barracks will be about done, and setting down a supply depot, and it looks like he's trying to, he's trying to build and then cancel to path his way through his own building. STC pretty much knows that his opponent did not spawn here based upon the timing of HerO, since he has played so many games against HerO, and now, based upon seeing that there was a probe coming in from this direction and the timing, knows that his opponent has spawned cross-spawn, so his SCV would just be a little bit later, but not by much. We are going to be getting a Marine out in just a moment, and the probe unable to get any damage onto that one particular SCV the Marine now coming out trying to block its path. Is it going to get enough damage? It is going to be able to deal actual damage to that probe, but not very much at all. And interestingly enough, we now see STC opening up into a very, very expensive expansion build. You're going to see the SCV building an expansion right over here. He will be able to lift it off, and then he will probably go into a double gas, double racks build after his command center is built. The Marine now activating that center Xel'Naga watchtower, revealing a large portion of the map. Cybernetics core is currently being built or chrono boosting as well, researching that warp gate. Stalker now being trained, and as soon as that Stalker trains up, that SCV will have to escape and try to move away. Now, I know I've asked this in the past, but do you guys like the hit points on or off? I know the game looks better when there isn't hit points all over the place. It probably clutters up the screen a little bit more, but at the same time, it is very, very relevant information to know what units have how much energy. You can also see how far along buildings are being completed and units are being trained off of them as well. It makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, I know that it can get in the way in some of those critical battles. I'll try to be a little bit smarter about it and try to turn on and off those turn on and off hit points as needed. We are going to be getting a pylon warping in over here, and then warping units along this gap here, and now the Marines are going to have to try to fight back against that Zealot over there. The Zealot actually high enough to try to deal some damage, and now the Marines moving as a group in a nice formation, getting some damage onto that Zealot. The Zealot does deal a significant amount of damage with those side blades, but the problem with those side blades is that they have a very, very short melee range and are unable to get that much damage. And doing a nice job once again, warping in more units as well. The Zealot actually taking some significant damage as more Marines are being trained, so this is going to be a double expansion attempt. One Zealot now taken down, and the Stalker's now trying to come back up. HerO may be able to simply charge up this ramp very, very easily. Supply depot is up, and now we need to get Marauders. This is going to be a problem. SCVs need to come off the mineral line. We are now supply locked at 34 over 30, as this one supply depot may get taken down as well. SCVs now just desperately trying to repair as a Marauder joins in on this fight. Unfortunately for STC, he cannot chrono boost his Marauder currently being trained. And over here, as the Stalkers now are just continuing to try to play a very dangerous game, and a probe sacrificing itself in order to gain some sight there. We do see one sentry And what that sentry could try to do is, as it walks up the ramp, place down a force field right here, pushing all the units back, and then allowing the stalkers to actually try to walk up that ramp. It looks like the supply depot will be rebuilt as more units are being warped in. So a lot of sentries now being added to this army group. And with 4 force fields, he may actually be able to push back this army far enough away and destroy the supply depot and simply just walk up this ramp. SCV is still wandering around inside. This is a 3-gate expand. So a 3-gate expansion, a very, very strong tactic. 3-gate expansion, allowing him to get a very strong economy going while still warping in and putting a lot of pressure. Some damage has been dealt, but HerO cannot siege here forever. He needs to figure out whether he's going to commit to an attack or try to pull back. It looks like STC wants to go into a Marine Marauder game, as Stimpack now being researched as well. You can see a reactor currently being built by that factory. Perhaps we will have a swap in just a moment, as well as we now see another command center being built. This is a very aggressive maneuver now, as the SCV simply going to walk down that ramp, realizes that it can't stick around there for very much longer, and more Marines are going to be trained. That is a lot of Stalkers. 2 Stalkers currently being trained, and now switching to a tech lab. It looked like he was building a reactor for some time. Finally switching to a tech lab here. Starport's going to lift off, and as soon as those medevacs join in on that fight, STC should be able to break down. Even if there were other units here, STC should have been able to easily clean up any of HerO's units. You can now see the units have decided to return home, and this is more of a defensive maneuver by HerO, just because he wants to make sure that no harassment and no drops are going to be coming into play. You can see the factory now making its way across the map. The command center over here about to be completed, only needing about, what, another 20 seconds or so? Yeah, 25 seconds or so, as a force field now just continually being placed here. As long as he can continue to force field a lot, these units are going to be stuck there. But now the Marines and the Marauders are going to now make their way out and try to do a drop. It is going to be a flank here, as the Marines and Marauders are now simply stimming, fighting back. Damage has been dealt. Down goes the Stalker here, as the Stalkers are now in full retreat. There is a decent number of units, Zealots and Sentries, as the Marines and the Marauders are going to just make their way out into the main part of the battlefield here. So HerO needs to be prepared. This command center already going to be established, as another command center going to be built over here. The key question is, will this pylon see the passing of that command center? You can now see what probes getting destroyed here, and now perhaps a drop. Not going to even try to fight the main battle over here. Seeing a lot of Zealots and Sentry elevatoring up onto this cliff, and that's going to be a problem, especially if the Marines and Marauders actually try to engage over here. The Marines and the Marauders are now taking down the robotics facility. Marines now fighting back against these units. Force fields now finally coming into play. That Colossus going to join in on that fight in just a moment. And oh, nicely done, sniping down a Stalker right as it was being built. And now damage being dealt with these very, very fast-moving units. Marines in the back of that mineral line getting just multiple damage, and now perhaps going to do a drop over here as the Marauders coming in once again. So STC doing an amazing amount of damage with these units, and now another drop coming back over here, but there is Colossus and Stalkers already ready. So HerO laying down a trap. There's the force fields trapping the Marines and Marauders there. Units now trying to fight over here. There is one Colossus. The Colossus now backing off, getting a decent amount of distance with that with no extended thermal lance range. And the Marauders and the Marines, only one Marauder and 2 Marines living to tell the tale of how they were able to deal so much damage. So it was pretty effective in that damage and trying to even up the game. And now that STC is also expanding here on the bottom right hand side of the map and having a decent saturation at his natural expansion, I believe his economy is now going to be much, much stronger with the addition of those 3 mules. Stalkers now making their way over here. The medevac, oh, a very expensive unit, now just flying back, able to return home. Gonna be able to spot out this one particular probe over here, but this medevac still not able to deal all that much damage so far. Perhaps it should unload its cargo, heal up those units, and then return back into the field. Back here, the Vikings are laying in wait, as I believe, yes, we are now getting bunkers in position. Bunkers, very, very powerful, giving 7 range to a Marauder, almost siege range. I think siege range is, for me, anything over 8, as the natural defense is, the natural defensive units, spine crawlers, spore crawlers, turrets, and cannons all have a range of 7. back over here, this one probe gonna be revealed, but not much is gonna really happen there, as an observer now going to park itself inside this base. One of the issues that I have with STC right now is that he only has one starport. Normally, I would like to see Terran players with a second starport, especially with that tech lab. The addition of Banshees and Ravens really help out against a Protoss player, especially as you're able to see observers much more easily, not have to waste scans. And on top of that, Banshees have one of the highest DPSs in the game, very effective against Stalkers, and especially effective against Immortals, as Immortals take 20 damage per attack against those units. You can now see that Immortal just stuck around that backside there, trying to get closer, unable to do so, but the rocks will be destroyed. And now you see a Dark Shrine, which is what I was hoping HerO would try to go. When a Terran player has to fight against Dark Templars, scanner sweeps really eat into the economy. You can see, based upon the bases here, he does not have enough energy for a scanner sweep just quite yet. SCVs are still being trained as this Protoss ball is getting larger and larger. You can see Colossi, Zealots, Stalkers, and Immortals in that ball, and we'll be able to move out in just a moment. Pylon currently being warped in here, but the Vikings should be able to spot it very easily if they move over just a little bit more. There you go, canceling that Pylon. Is it going to rewarp it in? Yeah, he's going to rewarp it in now, as there's now a drop over here. The Marauders and the Marines fighting, taking down one of those pylons, going to take down the Dark Shrine. That Dark Shrine is a very, very long to build building. Down it goes, and now another Zealot going to get taken down as well. Immortals and Colossi trying to come back in, and the units were not able to get there in time. The Observer now making its way over, and that is a fleet of Vikings used to focus down that Colossus very, very easily. I believe with 10 Vikings able to two-shot those units, as now a group of Marauders now fighting against probes and a Stalker. More Stalkers now trying to come over as well. I believe the Marauders are going to simply get destroyed. Able to take down that last probe there. Observers have been scanner swept away by those Vikings with support, as my daughter behind me is playing with a giant foam cylinder, laughing. Hi, Arya. Alright, getting back to the game, back into the StarCraft universe. oGs HerO, oGs the STC. STC now clearing out these destructible rocks for a potential third base. He should not be able to lift this off anytime soon. There's still a large amount of gas left in those refineries to harvest and collect. The units now once again moving out to engage. No, just trying to clean up some of those observers and going to now take down these destructible rocks. STC has a large number of gateways, or warp gates. He does have a Twilight Council, and he does have charge, but he does not have blink yet. So he does not have blink yet, as my daughter just spun me around in my chair. Okay, back over here there is a pylon, and the Stalkers are still playing, or just not playing. That would be my daughter. My very distracting shoutcast today. Honey is now taking care of Arya. Hi, Arya. She likes to hear me talk. Stalker's still waiting over here, as we are now getting another Nexus up and running, and it looks like the Marauders and the Marines just containing oGs HerO. Army-wise, 6,700 for STC versus HerO's 5,100. And there is also a 20 food army difference, I believe. Taking a look at the army supply, a 26 food army supply difference. But HerO does have a significant number of harvesters. It is one of the benefits for Terran that mules do not take up any supply, as we should be getting a command center here in just a moment. He just needs to get it started. The orbital command over here just barely doing any mining, as the main units of Zealots and Colossi finishing off that last Marauder there. Not able to destroy those destructible rocks yet, but now in comes a major battle. The Vikings now trying to stay very close together, trying to not do that Viking flower, or manually doing that Viking flower. By keeping those units very, very close together, he's going to be able to keep those units together and now perhaps get a lot of damage, and they are on hold position. I don't know how he's actually able to do that. I thought that was actually fixed, where you couldn't hold a group of units like that. So perhaps he was just holding on, and there was one EMP shockwave, but the EMP shockwave definitely missed its target. But the Ghosts are looking to get another EMP shockwave there, and unable to get off the EMP shockwave. trying to get the EMP shockwave off onto those sentries over there, as the battle is going to continue. Both sides battling out. There's one EMP shockwave, a second one, and so much damage being dealt. The Vikings now going into ground mode as they've already finished off the Colossi. Multiple force fields as the Guardians shields are absorbing a lot of that damage, and the Marines and the Marauders now protected in a pocket as both sides dealing damage and now picking up multiple units in order to perhaps do a drop. The one Marauder unable to get inside there as the Marauders over here are in retreat. The Marauders, and this is going to be an effective drop now as the main army of HerO is not over here. You can see that the units are coming in, but those are Dark Templars, folks. Dark Templars slicing away at STC. He does not have a Raven. A scanner sweep just too late. And wow, nicely done by HerO to defend that attack. I thought that would have been a much more damage, but because the Dark Templars were warped in instead of Zealots, those Dark Templars looking all ninja-like, able to just protect the main base there. Army-wise, 3475 minerals, 2950, 3100, about, I would say, 600, 1,000 resource difference between these two armies. Income-wise, though, the Terran player having a significant lead. STC at about 600 resources a minute higher just because of this additional gas over here. It looks like another drop going to be coming in as well, and these Marines and Marauders going to just stim in first and now try to finish off this one photon cannon. Down it goes. Zealots and Dark Templars currently trying to warp in. Down it goes as well as the probes now trying to fight in. The army now trying to make its way over, unable to do so too easily as the Stalkers and Zealots are going to be trying to come in and deal more damage as well, and the Stalkers do not have Blink, unable to catch up there. We are now getting a major army in the center of the map once again. There is a Nexus here as the drop once again gonna continue. The Marauders gonna make their way in as well, taking down more units. The Dark Templar is dealing a lot of damage, but another group of units coming in over here to snipe down this Nexus. Multiple Marauder play. EMP Shockwave getting a lot of damage across the board. High Templar now being dropped in and Psy-storming this group. Very nicely done around the park, just getting a lot of Psy-storm, hitting multiple sides as well, as the Marauders and the Marines are still sticking around and will be able to snipe down this Nexus. The Dark Templar wants to try to finish off an additional target, but I believe, yeah, this expansion is at least still up and running. We do have a command center here that should be upgraded to a planetary fortress slowly, but HerO is in trouble after losing this expansion here. Unable to transfer any of his probes. He has a large number of probes, 62, but he is oversaturating the majority of his mineral patches. You can see, especially as these locations also have idle probes as well. The Marines and Marauders and Ghosts now going to make their way, take down these destructible rocks, and the Ghosts have enough for 2 EMP shockwaves. So once those EMP shockwaves go down, if it does hit these High Templars, the High Templars will not have the energy, no Psy-storm, and that is going to be a very, very sad day there. The Stalkers now trying to engage. Are we going to get some Psy-storm? Oh, Psy-storm now hitting on top of the Zealots themselves. Another EMP shockwave delaying one of the Psy-storms there, as the Stalkers are now trying to battle it out. There is a scanner sweep, but one poor Archon being merged right in the line of fire. Down it goes. And HerO is going to lose this Nexus as well, and I believe that is going to be game. No, a Dark Templar now making its way over here, so now no mining at the expansion over here on the bottom right-hand side as well, until a scanner sweep does quickly reveal it. The amount of medevacs and Marauders just simply being everywhere at once, a very mobile army, as both players now down to less than 1,000 resources per minute. HerO does have the smaller army at this time, so he needs to get a lot of mileage off of those High Templars if he expects to deal some damage, and now also getting some Blink as well, joining in on that fight. Are we going to get a Psy-storm? There it is, a Psy-storm melting away multiple Marauders, and a lot of damage to be had. You can see that the medevacs are just so much, though, that they were able to continue to deal or to heal even though there was that much Psy-storm. An Archon now trying to join in on the fight. The Archon, however, going to quickly fall to the Marauders based upon pure numbers. Stalker's now going to once again re-engage over here, and there's the GG by HerO. So, wow, a crazy game between oGs HerO and oGs the STC. An epic battle using Marines and Marauders. A lot of medevacs. I rarely ever see a dozen medevacs or 11 medevacs in one group. This is, 9 after a couple of those stocks. You're able to blink and focus down a couple of them. And because of the sheer number of medevacs and the fact that they all had energy, when they were sitting underneath a Psystorm, they were still able to heal up the majority of the Marines and the Marauders. Perhaps a couple of feedbacks onto a medevac would have been an effective tactic to neutralize them, get them out of the game, and also prevent the majority of that healing bus ability. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between oGs's HerO and oGs's TheStC here on Shattered Temple.